We spend so much of our time seeking approval, trying to be noticed, trying to be heard, trying to be accepted by people who don't even know themselves. And along the way, we interchange being liked with being worthy. We interchange attention with love. But I'm here to tell you, the less you need external validation, the more free you are, the more happy you become. Because true peace doesn't come from the external world, it comes from within. There are too many of us who are addicted to approval. We're addicted to it like a drug. We put something out online and sit there refreshing, waiting for somebody to see it. We go out of our way to please people who would not even show up for us if we were burning to death. Why? Because we believe their recognition makes us important. But it doesn't. All it does is bind us to their opinions. It makes our self-worth conditional. And let me tell you something, anything that is conditional will always come crashing down under pressure. You don't have to have likes to be worth something. You don't have to have applause to be amazing. You don't have to have people applauding for you to continue to keep going. The issue is, we've been conditioned to link our value to how people react to us. But if you only feel confident when they applaud, then what do you do when they're quiet? If you only feel proud when they approve of you, then what do you do when they disapprove? That ain't no confidence. That's reliance. And reliance will shatter you every time. There has been a season in my life when I allowed the voice of the world to be greater than my own. I needed everyone to like me. I had to be reminded I was doing good. But it was draining, because you can't make people feel a certain way about you. You can't win over everyone. You can do everything right and still be despised. You can say what is right and still be misconstrued. So why even try? Why continue bending? Why continue breaking yourself apart just to be accepted by people who don't even accept themselves? When you release that need, when you don't care if they like you or not, you begin to breathe again. You begin to live again. You cease to edit yourself to suit their story. You cease to shrink to make others comfortable. You begin to be present as you. And not everyone's going to be a fan of it, but not everyone is meant to be. Not everyone's got the ability to see your light without feeling threatened by it. Some of the most joyful individuals I know don't run after anything but purpose. They don't worry if they're trending. They don't worry about who is watching. They're concerned with doing what they were called to do. And paradoxically, because they don't worry about being seen, they get seen. Because when you're genuine, people can feel it. When you're real, it lands differently. The reality is, the less you care about being liked, the more you can love yourself. The less you care about their approval, the more you approve of your own path. Stop waiting for someone else to applaud you. Start applauding for yourself. You don't need a crowd to approve your calling. You were designed for better than likes, for better than comments, for better than vacuous approval from vacuous people. You were designed for purpose, for peace, for joy. And those are not things that come from outside. So today, make a choice to cease chasing approval and begin pursuing your vision. Release the need to be understood. Release the need to be approved. The less you care about what doesn't matter, the more space you create for what does. And that's where happiness resides, not in their approval, but in your alignment. Not in their endorsement, but in your authenticity. That's freedom. That's joy. That's the life you'll waste so much energy and time trying to control the people and situations in our lives. But the reality is, the more you struggle to control what you can't control, the more frustrated and drained you get. The instant you turn your attention to what you can control, your attitude, your response, your routines, your work ethic, that's the instant life feels less heavy. That's when peace arrives. That's when happiness starts to flourish. See, you can't decide how someone treats you, but you can decide whether or not you tolerate it. You can't decide if people get you wrong, but you can decide how you react, or whether you react at all. You can't decide the weather, traffic, gossip, or economy, but you can decide your attitude in the midst of it all. You get to decide whether or not to complain or remain calm, whether or not to spiral or remain grounded. And that is where your power lies, not in making everyone around you do what you want, but in being skilled at how you come even when everything going on isn't. There are too many people losing their joy as they try to control things that were never theirs to control. They're stressed, they're frustrated, they're exhausted because they're attempting to manage results that are life's, God's, times, not theirs. They attempt to make relationships be effective. They attempt to persuade people to perceive their value. They attempt to solve every issue in everyone else's life except their own. And through this, they miss out on the one thing that might truly advance them themselves. Let me be real with you. There's peace and surrender. I'm not talking about giving up. I'm talking about giving over the things that are out of your hands. I'm talking about trusting the process, doing your best and letting go of the rest. When you learn to let go of what you can't control, you finally free up the energy to take control of what matters, your growth, your character, your direction. And that transition, that is life altering. That is when you quit responding to every little thing. That is when you quit allowing every remark, every slowdown, every sidetrack take away your peace. You see, not everything is worth your time. Not every battle is worth engaging in. Not every thought requires a response. Some things are simply white noise. And when you begin to allow the noise to be noise, rather than wanting to correct or combat it, you begin to move differently. You begin to live differently. You remain grounded while the world around you spirals. There is something strong about being able to say, this is out of my control, but I'm still in charge of me. That's maturity. That's emotional control. That's how you elevate. Because when you refuse to allow external turmoil disrupt your inner peace, you become unshakable. You cease to be reactive and begin to be deliberate. And when you begin being deliberate, everything shifts. Your relationships, your mindset, your confidence, your peace. So breathe deeply today and ask yourself, what am I carrying that's not mine to bear? What wars am I waging that I could abandon? What results am I fixated on that I must let go? Then turn your gaze inward. Construct your routines. Refine your thinking. Guard your energy. Travel with intention. Because the less you worry about controlling the uncontrollable, the more control you have over your own life. And in that place where control drops off and surrender begins, that's where happiness resides. That's where you discover peace that doesn't rattle. One of the heaviest burdens you will ever bear is the burden of what other people think. It's heavy, it's relentless, and worst of all, it's useless. The fact is, everyone else isn't thinking as much about you as you're convinced they are. They're too caught up in their own world, their own fears, their own issues. But when you spend your entire life trying to control how you're perceived, you lose focus on who you truly are. And the less you care what they think, the more you're free in content. Let's get real. How many dreams have been killed due to fear of judgment? How many times have you kept quiet, covered your talent, played small just because you did not want somebody to judge you? That fear is genuine, but it is also a trap. You end up censoring yourself to suit somebody else's comfort level. You second guess your decisions, not because they're bad, but because you fear they will cause eyebrows to be raised. That's not living. That's a jail, and the bars are opinion and probably not even actual ones. You've got people out there carrying around hypothetical criticism in their minds. What will they think if I do this? What if they think I'm too much? What if they don't like me? But here's the thing, they may not, and that's fine, because you weren't born to be loved by everyone. You were born to be real, to be brave, to be you. And not everybody's going to accept that. Not everybody's going to see your vision. Not everybody is going to applaud when you grow. And they don't have to. Their approval isn't necessary for your growth. When you care less about being accepted, you begin moving with power. You begin making decisions based on purpose, not popularity. You speak with honesty. You move with confidence. You no longer explain yourself to people who don't even know the full story. And all of a sudden, the fear that held you back, it begins to break down because you realize that their opinion does not pay your bills. Their opinion won't make you a better person. Their opinion won't make you more or less deserving. People will always have an opinion. They'll criticize you when you keep quiet, and they'll criticize you when you speak up. They'll judge you when you play it safe, and they'll judge you when you're risky. So why not do what is right for you? Why live in accordance with their expectations, not your values? Ultimately, their opinion is just noise, and the less you care about it, the louder you'll be able to hear your own voice. And that voice, your voice, it counts. It's the only voice that's going to see you through difficult times, through rejection, through failure. So make your voice stronger. Tune in not to the critics, the doubters, the silent observers who never applaud, but always gaze. That's not your audience. Your audience is inside. Your audience is your reason, your peace, your tomorrow. So stop asking for approval you don't need. Stop measuring your life through someone else's lens. You don't owe anyone an explanation for how you choose to heal, grow, or win. And the sooner you let go of trying to be understood by everyone, the sooner you'll find the clarity to become who you were meant to be. The less you worry about what they think, the more you can see to it that you work on what truly matters. Your development, your well-being, your authenticity. And that's where life really starts to get fun. Not in being accepted by the world, but in fully accepting yourself unashamedly and totally. Even when the world, there's a difference between being known and being at peace. Many people pursue popularity as if it's the end all, be all, trying to be noticed, trying to be popular, trying to be current. But let me tell you, if you're known by everyone, but not known by yourself, it doesn't matter. You can have 1,000 voices calling your name and still be empty inside. You can be the center of attention and feel lost. Because peace isn't popularity, it's alignment. And the second you begin more highly valuing your internal peace than what other people might think, that's when you actually start living. Let's face it, popularity's loud, but it's shallow, it's surface level, it's dependent. One minute they adore you, the next minute they don't even know who you are. One day you're the hero, the next day you're the villain. That's the way it is when you live for the crowd. You're only as good as your last post, your last win, your last performance. And the pressure to remain current, to always impress, to prove yourself constantly, it depletes your soul. It draws you away from your truth. But peace is quiet. It doesn't demand attention. It doesn't beg to be noticed. It just is. Peace is walking away from what disrupts your spirit, even if it means losing followers. Peace is choosing rest over running, truth over trends, purpose over popularity. It's not glamorous and it won't always be applauded, but it's real, it's solid, and it lasts. People will try to convince you that being seen is the goal. That being talked about means you've made it. But what good is it to be everywhere if you're not even comfortable in your own skin? What good is having a million eyes on you if you're dying inside trying to keep up an image? You start performing instead of living. You begin building a version of yourself that the world approves of but is alien to your own soul. And you end up unhappy, loved by so many, recognized by none, including yourself. You weren't made to be overwhelmed by the crowd. You were made to walk in your own way, even if it's quiet, even if it's not ostentatious, even if it doesn't make sense to anyone else. And when you cease pursuing popularity and begin guarding your peace, your vibe changes. You cease trying to justify yourself to those who can't see. You cease requiring approval from those who would not even hang around if you fell through. You begin opting for solitude instead of noise, alignment rather than attention. It's in the quiet that you become clear. It's in the quiet that you find direction. When the hubbub quiets down, you begin to hear you again, what you desire, who you are, what truly matters. And when you understand that, you quit bartering your peace for fleeting applause. You quit shrinking yourself into someone else's spotlight. You quit saying yes just to remain in spaces you were never designed to occupy. Peace is the actual prize, not the likes, not the followers, not the applause, but the quiet assurance of knowing you're proceeding in truth, even if nobody's clapping. And here's the catch. When you make peace first, the right people come, the right opportunities converge. You don't have to make it happen. You don't have to pretend to be something you're not. You just be yourself, and that's sufficient. So let the world pursue popularity. You pursue peace. Because the less you worry about being noticed, the more you see yourself. And in that stillness, that's where happiness resides. Not in the commotion of being heard, but in the freedom. There is a strength that begins when you hold your tongue, when you refuse to argue, when you hold back on proving yourself and allow your quietude to speak. We are a world where everyone is eager to be loud. Everyone wants to clap back, get the last word in, ensure their point is made. But silence is strength. Silence speaks volumes. I don't need to respond to this. I don't need to defend myself to those who already formed an opinion. I know who I am, and I'm not stepping down to prove it. When you're always responding to everything around you, you hand over your power. Every insult, every rumor, every incorrect assumption, if it draws a reaction out of you, it's in charge of you. And more often than not, that's precisely what people want. They want you to crack. They want you to lose your cool. They want you to explain yourself so they can twist your words and keep you in a place of weakness. But when you go quiet, when you don't feed it, when you just keep moving, that rattles them more than any response ever could. You don't have to explain what you're about. Let your actions do that. You don't owe anyone an explanation for them to respect you. Let your consistency do that. Let your discipline do that. Let your success do that. The people who get it, they get it. The people who don't, let them remain confused. It's not your job to break yourself down into little bite-sized pieces so they can understand you. You don't owe anyone an explanation for how you choose to grow. You don't owe them an answer for why you walked away, why you changed, why you leveled up. Growth often looks like silence because sometimes the loudest thing you can say is nothing at all. Not because you're weak, but because you've outgrown the need to engage. You've evolved past the need for drama, past the need for petty battles, past the need to be right in every room. Let them talk. Let them guess what they must. The truth is not something that must be defended when you live it. And time will always show what silence guards. You work while they chatter. You build while they watch. You rise above when they guess. That is how you triumph without saying a word. And I understand it's hard not to respond. It's hard not to clap back, defend your name, set the record straight. But each time you do, consider this: is it worth my energy? Am I helping myself grow? Am I creating anything lasting in my life? More often than not, it's not. More often than not, it's simply a trap to get you out of character and sidetracked from your path. The more you grow up, the more you understand silence isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It is strong not to react. It is mature to leave when you can fight. And it is concentration to continue to build while others waste their time tearing things down with words. So let your silence be your response. Let your work speak for you. Let your growth be your clapback. Because when you refuse to explain and instead begin executing, you move into a space of peace that can't be disturbed by noise. The less you worry about being understood by the wrong people, the more you attract the right ones who see your worth without a word. That's when joy begins to grow, not when you win an argument, but when you've outgrown needing to. Not when everyone likes what you have to say, but when you no longer need them to. That's true power. That's true peace. That's what the quiet ones bear. And it's louder than anything words ever can say. There's power in stopping explaining, stopping arguing, stopping trying to prove yourself, and simply allowing your silence to do the talking. We're living in a world where everybody wishes to be loud. Everybody wishes to clap back, get the last word, ensure their voice is heard. But silence is strength. Silence speaks. I don't have to answer to that. I don't have to justify myself to those who already had their minds made up. I know who I am, and I'm not going down a step to prove it. When you react to everything in your environment all of the time, you give away your power. Every insult, every rumor, every lay, if it draws a reaction out of you, it's got power over you. And most of the time, that's precisely what people need. They need you to crack. They need you to lose your temper. They need you to justify yourself so they can spin you around and maintain you in a position of vulnerability. But when you shut up, when you don't fuel it, when you just keep moving, that shakes them up more than anything ever could. You don't have to inform people about who you are. Make your actions speak for you. You don't have to beg anyone to listen to and respect you. Allow your consistency to speak for you. Allow your discipline to speak for you. Allow your success to speak for you. The ones who get it, get it. The ones who don't, allow them to remain confused. It's not your responsibility to break yourself down into bite-sized pieces so that they can comprehend you. You don't owe anyone an apology for how you decide to grow. You don't owe them a response for why you walked away, why you shifted, why you upgraded. Growth tends to resemble silence because sometimes the loudest thing you can possibly say is nothing at all. Not because you're weak, but because you've grown up and out of needing to participate. You've evolved past the need for drama, past the need for petty battles, past the need to be right in every room. Let them say what they will. Let them assume what they must. The truth does not require defending when you are living it. And time will always reveal what silence guards. While they talk, you work. While they watch, you build. While they guess, you rise. That is how you get the victory without a word. And I understand it. It's tempting to fire back. It's tempting to clap back, to defend your name, to get the truth out there. But each time you do, ask yourself, is it worth my energy? Is it making me a better person? Is it creating anything that will last in my life? Most of the time, it's not most of the time. It's just a trap to pull you out of character and pull you away from your way. The older you get, the more you learn that silence is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's not easy to not react. It requires maturity to walk away when you could fight. And it requires focus to keep building while others are busy destroying with their words. So let your silence be your answer. Let your performance be your voice. Let your development be your clapback. Because when you cease to explain and begin to execute, you transition into a state of peace that can't be disturbed by noise. The less you worry about being heard by the wrong people, the more you gather the right ones who see your worth without a word. That's when happiness begins to sprout. Not when you win an argument, but when you grow out of needing one. Not when people agree with you, but when you don't need them to. That's true power. That's true peace. That's what the quiet ones carry. And it's louder than anything words could ever say. There comes a point in your life when you've got to stop giving emotional discounts to people who keep overcharging your peace. Every time you react to disrespect, every time you let someone's negativity pull you in, every time you give your energy to someone who drains it, you're handing over your power. And the truth is, happiness becomes more real, more solid when you cut emotional ties to the people, patterns, and problems that don't serve you anymore. It's not about being cold, it's about being clear. Not caring isn't heartless, it's healing. You've got to learn how to protect your spirit. Not everything deserves a reaction. Not every jab deserves a counterpunch. Some throw shade just to test whether you will take a step into the darkness with them. And when you don't, when you keep your head up, keep your spirit clean, and keep moving forward, they lose the grip they thought they had on you. Detachment does not mean you don't feel. It means you don't let your feelings be dictated by things that shouldn't even have access to you. It takes courage to say, I see what you're doing and I'm not going to respond. That's emotional maturity. That's intelligence. That's growth. When somebody disrespects you and you don't even blink because you know who you are, because you know your worth, because you know their words don't make up who you are, that's power. That's peace. And that's what true happiness is founded upon. You don't owe anyone an emotional breakdown. You don't owe them a tear every time they demand one. You don't owe them a fight every time they arrive with one. You don't owe them pursuit of closure from people who only brought you turmoil. Sometimes the strongest response is nothing. Sometimes the strongest healing is silence. Sometimes the greatest strength is walking away. There are individuals in your life who live on making you lose your cool, who thrive off of your response, who use you like a yo, manipulating you into justifying yourself repeatedly just to see you exhaust yourself. But the moment you stop playing that game, the moment you detach from that pattern and remain silent, they lose their grip. You regain your energy. And in that instant, you find out that detachment is not indifference, it's liberation. You'll be called cold when you're not reacting the way they expect anymore. Let them. They'll say you're distant when you no longer offer emotional availability to their soap opera. Let them. You don't need to fight to maintain your peace. You only have to guard it. Because at the end of the day, your peace is not negotiated. Your growth is not debated. You've cried enough. You've explained enough. You've tried enough. Now it's time to feel enough. Enough of the guilt, the overthinking, the people-pleasing. You're done breaking your spirit just to keep connections alive that should have ended long ago. So from this point on, make a decision. Don't let your emotions be played with like loose change in someone else's pocket. Don't let your peace be collateral damage for someone else's chaos. The less invested you are in controlling how other people feel towards you, the more you're concerned with how you feel in your own life. That's where the happiness resides, in emotional freedom, in being able to say, I am responsible for how I react. in having the courage to choose to protect your peace no matter what, even if that means severing ties with individuals you once loved dearly. Not everybody gets front row seating at your heart. Not everyone is worthy of a response. Some people only get boundaries when you go quiet. And that quiet, that detachment, that capacity to walk away without batting an eye, that's not cold. That's healed. That's happiness. That's peace. That's you reclaiming your power of existing in peace. Does who we're born to be. We're living in an era where everyone's desperate to impress someone. Flashy automobiles, designer attire, fabricated holidays, perfected lifestyles. Individuals are so concerned with appearing successful, they neglect to become satisfied. But here's reality. There is no bliss in acting. There is no tranquility in performance. The less you are concerned with impressing the world, and the more you are concerned about creating a life that truly nourishes your soul, the more liberated you are. True delight isn't boisterous. It's reserved. It's inward. And it doesn't require a spotlight in order to exist. You need to ask yourself, are you creating a life that presents itself well on the outside, or one that truly feels good inside? Because far too many people are dying behind a fat cat. They're smiling for the camera, but they're crying in private. They have the image, but they don't have peace. The house is large, but the heart is hollow. The followers are numerous, but the people are fake. That's not success. That's a costume. That's a show for people who aren't even looking with kindness. They're just looking to see if you mess up. And why? Why live your life to impress strangers? Why judge your value based on who applauds you? Why pursue a definition of success that has nothing to do with who you are? The world will make you believe that status is a measure of value. That busy equals important. That visible equals respected. But you don't have to have status to feel valuable. You don't have to be busy to feel worthy. You don't have to be in the spotlight to feel whole. What you do need is alignment with your values, your peace, your purpose. You weren't designed to impress. You were designed to make an impact. You weren't placed here to put on a show. You were placed here to be present, real, raw, and true. And yeah, that may mean you pursue a less loud road. That may mean you build slower. That may mean you decline offers that don't feel right for your soul. But I promise you, what you create from a place of peace will last longer than what you create out of pressure. There is no happiness in attempting to live up to someone else's vision of who you are supposed to be. Your life is not a play, and you're not a marionette. You don't require everyone to applaud your every action. You simply need to know you're heading in the right direction. That's where confidence resides, not in the size of your success, but in the authenticity of it. Not in how many people pay attention, but in how you feel when you wake up in the morning and go to sleep at night. When you stop trying to impress, you have the liberty to finally ask, what do I really want? What makes me come alive? What sparks me? What feels right to me, even if no one gets it? That's how you create a meaningful life. That's how you create something that you don't need a break from. Because joy is not found in outside approval. It's found in inside agreement. It's found when your decisions align with your values, when your lifestyle aligns with your soul, when your journey is yours, not borrowed from someone else. So let them get the show. Let them follow the trends. Let them share the highlights. You remain earthed. You remain centered. You remain authentic, because the true flex is tranquility. The true success is happiness. The true aim is fulfillment. The less you worry about how it appears to others, the more space you have to ensure that it feels authentic to you. And that's where true happiness lies. Not in the limelight, but in the quiet. Not in the show, but in the calm. Not in what you display, but in how you exist. Your energy is your highest form of currency. More precious than money, more precious than time, because without the right energy, you can't use your time effectively, and you can't get your money to work. And yet most people give it away for free. They give it away to individuals who don't value it, waste it on circumstances that don't make them bigger, and spend it attempting to repair, appease, and validate. But as soon as you understand how potent your energy truly is, you cease giving it away so readily. You cease engaging in what depletes you. You cease allowing individuals to make your presence seem cheap, because the truth is, the less you care about making everyone happy, the more you're guarding what you care about. And that's when true happiness starts. You've got to treat your energy like it's holy, like it's scarce, because it is. Every time you fight with someone who's determined to get you wrong, you lose energy. Every time you show up for people who never show up for you, you lose energy. Each time you linger too long in situations that no longer nourish your spirit, you exhaust yourself. And soon, it's not the world that's destroying you. It's what you continue to permit. But here's the change. You do not need to be accessible to everything and everyone. You do not need to respond to every text. You do not need to appear at every function. You don't have to answer yes every time your soul is crying out no. That's not loyalty. That's self-abandonment. That's not kindness. That's overextension. And no one wins when you're running on empty. You can't pour into others when you're empty. You can't give your best when you've got nothing left. The minute you begin to protect your energy, everything begins to change. You begin to see who is truly for you and who is simply hung up on the access they gain from you. You begin to see that some will only love the version of you they can gain something from. And once that ends, so does their devotion. But that's not your loss. That's your clarity. That's your cue to stop watering dead plants. That's your cue to step back, refill, and save your energy for what really nourishes you. Guarding your energy isn't selfish, it's survival. It's strength. It's a promise to your peace. And no, not everybody's going to get it. Some will label you as distant. Some will accuse you of changing. Some will attempt to guilt you for creating boundaries they can't gain from. Let them. You don't owe others unlimited access to you because they're accustomed to it. Growth takes new boundaries. Healing needs new expectations. And peace needs space from that which derails it. You've got to be brave enough to step away from that which no longer serves you. Brave enough to say, I'm no longer available for this. Brave enough to put your well-being first, even if it lets others down. Because ultimately, you're the one responsible to live with the outcome of your life. You're the one who has to feel the burden of your decisions. So why do you continue to choose people who won't choose you? Why do you continue to invest in things that don't yield anything back to you? The less you worry about being popular with everyone, the more you care about liking yourself. And that's the kind of care that transforms everything. That's the care that brings peace. That's the care that brings happiness, not the fleeting kind that results from external validation, but the enduring kind that results from knowing you're living in congruence with your truth. So guard your energy as if your life is at stake, because in a very real sense it is. And when you do, when you quit giving your energy to all that does not deserve it, you finally create room for the things that do. And in that space, that is where peace takes hold. That is where joy resides. That's where the real you finally gets to breathe. There's a sort of peace that only arrives when you finally know how to let go. Let go of the result. Let go of who remains. Let go of what they think. The less attached you are to how things ought to be, the freer you get to live fully in what is. And that's the truth. Most people refuse to accept. The more you let go, the higher you will climb. Not because you care less about life, but because you care less about letting life dictate your every feeling. You care less about letting people, results, and opinions determine your value, your mood, your course. Attachment is one of the finest examples of self-sabotage. You become attached to how you believe others should treat you. You become attached to the version of your dream that you had inside your head. You become attached to the failing relationship, to the sucking job, to the life you planned, when it's no longer a fit with the life you need. And the more tenaciously you hold on, the more pain you experience. You're trying to control something that was never yours to control. You're gripping something that's already slipping. And in doing so, you're exhausting your spirit. Detachment isn't about becoming numb. It's not about walking through life cold and disconnected. It's about learning to hold things loosely. It's about being fully present, fully invested, but not enslaved. It's about arriving with love, with intention, with commitment, and still being at peace if it doesn't turn out the way you want it. Because your happiness is no longer attached to the outcome. It's attached to your growth, to your integrity, to your capacity to continue showing up no matter what. When you're too attached, everything becomes a crisis. If someone removes themselves from you, you freak out. If the itinerary changes, you get caught up. If the result isn't ideal, you break down. But when you're removed, you glide. You know that people can walk away and you'll remain intact. That things can go wrong and you'll be fine. That the world can change and you'll be fine finding your equilibrium. Because peace isn't outside of you, it's inside. You've created it for yourself. And that's where the actual rise occurs. When you no longer need things to go right so you can feel good. When you no longer need people to stay with you so you can feel worthwhile. When you stop chasing and begin trusting, you start to flow. You start to breathe. You start to rise above the madness because you're no longer a prisoner of your own expectations. You realize that anything that is meant for you will find its way to you. You don't have to cling. You don't have to beg. You don't have to fight what's already falling away. Some of the best breakthroughs occur immediately after the launch. Immediately after the instant you utter, you know what? I'm done pushing this. Immediately after releasing what no longer is growing. That empty space you make when you release, that's the space clarity arrives in, where new doors unfold, where peace pours in, because you finally stopped pushing away what's wanting to leave and begun clearing space for what's meant to enter. The more you're not identifying with things that are going to be taken from you, titles, people, results, the stronger you become. That's when you move into unwavering joy. Not because your world is flawless, but because you're anchored. You're centered, you're liberated. So detach, not from effort, not from passion, not from love, but from the need to control. Detach from the fear of loss. Let go of the notion that you require something external to yourself to be whole. And when you do, you will see that you haven't lost anything. You've simply created room for something greater. Peace, clarity, freedom. That's where your ascension starts. Peace is the new flex, not the car, not the chain, not the followers, not the noise. Peace. In a world where everyone is trying to be seen, trying to be loud, trying to be the center of attention, the one who moves in silence, the one who protects their calm, that's the one who truly holds power. Because real power doesn't need to announce itself. Real confidence doesn't need to perform. And real happiness, it doesn't need to be validated. It just is. There was a time when flashy meant made it. Loud meant something to say. But now the person yelling the loudest in the room is usually the one fighting the hardest. The ones that are actually peaceful don't need to establish anything with anyone. They're not chasing likes. They're not competing. They're not convincing anyone to respect them. They're living free, focused, unbothered. You see, peace is costly. It's costly to your ego. It's costly to your desire to be right. It's costly to toxic relationships. It's costly to overthinking, over-explaining, over-committing. But what do you gain in exchange? Priceless. Clarity, stability, joy. You wake up and your heart isn't pounding. Your mind isn't reeling. Your life isn't controlled by another person's drama. That's the type of wealth money can't purchase. And when you cease to pursue everything that doesn't count, you finally have room for what does. When you cease to worry about who's observing, you begin to move for you, not to impress others, but to express yourself, not to compete, but to expand. And in that inner space where no one's observing and no one's applauding, that's where the true transformation takes place. That's where the true confidence is constructed. That's where peace becomes a lifestyle rather than a destination. You're not here to prove to the world you're doing all right. You're here to be okay. You're not here to yell your worth. You're here to know it. Because the less commotion you let into your life, the more space you provide your soul to breathe. And when you're okay, you no longer overact. You no longer over-explain. You no longer apologize for your boundaries. You no longer shrink yourself to make other people comfortable. Peace allows you the freedom to be completely you without shame and without show. Let the world continue to chase status. Let them continue to run in circles, burn out, struggle to keep up. You guard your peace. You guard your space. You guard your energy like it's gold, because it is. When folks come with drama, you check out. When they bring chaos, you bring calm. When they come to provoke, you choose silence. Not because you're weak, but because you're focused, because you've grown, because you've realized that not every battle is worth your time and not every voice deserves your response. There's something strong about being unbothered, about being moved by purpose, not panic, about living quietly but richly. That's the new flex. That's the new wealth. That's the new strength. And the more you opt for peace, the more you draw on what belongs to it, the right people, the right spaces, the right opportunities, because peace doesn't just shield you, it raises you. So don't simply chase success, chase stillness. Don't simply chase visibility, chase alignment. The less you worry about impressing people, the more impressive you really are. And when the world is full of noise, full of chaos, and full of constant movement, the one who is clear, who is calm, who is grounded, that's the one who really wins. Peace is the new flex, and once you possess it, you'll never exchange it for anything else again.